morning. Welcome. I'm just sitting here with my coffee, waiting for a couple more people to join. Oh, oh, here we go. As you can see today, I'm going to be painting a cow. That's one of my favorite things to paint. Yeah, I've done a bit of a drawing ahead of time because I really like the cow to look like the one I'm painting. I think have some portrait artists in me. So, Monia, are you an artist? Still a couple minutes early. Um, to see if anyone else joins. This cow that I'll be painting today is called a Charolais. I think that's how you say it. It's French, so it might have maybe pronounced differently. But I love to paint this particular one. I used to see in Ireland when I visited my family, and they're just massive cows. They're so pretty, though. I think it's a lot of that good, beautiful green grass of Ireland that makes them so big. We call it the 40 Shades of Green. Okay, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. Like I've said in other weeks, I a lot of times start out with some transparent colors. I don't see quite as many opportunities for the brighter transparent colors, but I'm going to use some to start. So I'm going to begin with some Indian yellow, which is a nice transparent color that I think would be good inside the ears here. Seeing some golden color. Well, I wanted to mention that, uh, good morning, welcome. Um, I've started with a toned canvas. I've done this for years, and I really like to do it. I used acrylic, actually, some cadmium red light, and I just like it, even if I cover almost everything. Good morning, welcome. Because the especially with one that has a lot of green, like the background here, there'll be little bits of red just kind of peeking through, and it adds a lot of visual excitement to it. Plus, if you're painting something such as this with white, um, white on white canvas would just, I don't know, it wouldn't be very fun to do. So I right away I'll see the contrast of the white, and it just makes it more fun for me, and a little easier to see everything. So that's why I do that. But anyway, I'm going to start out putting just a little thinned out with some Sherpinoid um, of this Indian yellow. You won't see much of it to start with because it is a transparent color that is up against red right now. But I'm going to add some wherever I see a little more warmth happening. And oh, I almost stuck it in my water. I only did that once, really, but it's always a fear. It's like, pay attention to what you're putting the brush into. A little bit around here. Okay. Now I'm going to do something you might be able to see a little bit better. I'm going to work a little bit of a transparent oxide orange into some of these darker areas. Now, when I add other colors, the orange of this will show up a lot more. And I think I'm going to use a little bit of alizarin on this snout here, just to add some of that pinky. It's not totally pink, so I might add a little bit of the transparent orange as well, especially in this area down here. Okay. All right. Pretty early on, I like to get something on the eyes because it just starts talking to me then if I have an eye looking back at me. And it makes it, more enjoyable to have a little relationship with this cow. Over the years, I've painted a lot of cows, and when my son was in high school, my studio was right down the hall from him, and he had to pass through on his way to go get something to eat, which happened a lot for a teenager. And I would always say, "Oh, Andrew, what do you think?" And he'd sort of get this look on his face, a little bit pained, because this would be like the bazillionth cow he would have been asked to speak on. And he'd say, "Oh, it looks nice, Mom. It looks really good." And I'd say, "No, does it look like this cow?" And he'd just say, "Mom, it's a cow." But to me, I wanted to be able to find that cow in the field. Call me crazy, but that's what I wanted to do. And I used to sell on eBay, and this was years ago that eBay was really a good place to market your work because there was so much traffic and the bids could really go up. And I was doing these cows, and I left I didn't just leave the background like this, but I would paint reds in there and add some depth to it and everything, and put it out there. And I had this one lady that bought, I think, 16 of my cows, white cows on red. And I kept doing them because she kept buying them, right? So finally I couldn't stand it anymore. And I said, "What are you doing with these cows?" And she said, "Oh, I have them like a headboard. And when I wake up every morning, I just look at all of them and I thought, oh my goodness, I really liked my cows, but I don't know that I'd want that many cows looking down on me as I slept. But I was grateful that she did. Anyway, I probably won't leave the background red on this. That was a phase I went through. But, anyway, so then I've got something down on there, and I got the eyes placed where I want them. And now I'm going to start with the whites, and I'll tell you the whites that I have down today. I have a warm white, a beige by Lucas, but it's really sort of a yellowy white. I have soft mixing white, Winton. I have a titanium buff, and I have a Gamblin. It's, oh gosh, I don't remember what it is now. It used to be what they called Flesh, but they changed the name of it. And so I'm going to be using that, and it's in my pile of paints. I'm afraid that would take a while to find it in there. And then I have Ice Blue, which I used in the painting last week, and that's a very light blue-gray. So those, you can mix all of these colors to just have a variety of cool and warm whites, but why if you have it, and especially since I'm working on a bigger one today, so I want to just get in there and start painting and, not be mixing a whole lot. Okay. So, and white pets that are white, and cows and whatever else I paint, white birds. I really enjoy the white because there are so many colors mixed into the white. It's fun to get all the values, but still have sort of a white going on. Now here this is showing a little bit of the yellow that I had down, the, what do you call it, the transparent. And cows are interesting. They have, their eyes are really on the sides of their head, so sometimes you can see a cow painted and think, well, that just doesn't look quite right. And it's because the eyes are more like people eyes in the front. Okay. Like I said, that what I have down below, the tone part of the canvas is a cadmium red light acrylic. And for people that don't really want to mix, acrylic, it's perfectly fine to paint oil over acrylic. You just can't do the other way around. But people that don't want to do that, you can go ahead and, get one of your cad red light oil and tone canvases, but it will just take a while before it dries. So it's not something you could, do the same day. And I tend to be like, oh, I think I'll paint an 8 by 10 today. And if it's not ready to go, I'm in trouble. And I used to paint as a daily painter for quite a few years, and years. And sometimes I wouldn't know what I was going to paint till that day or what size. Okay. So I'm going to do a little bit more of this buff that I'm seeing in here. In the early layers, oh goodness, how I got a little bit of blue in there. I have to be careful because I can get very thick early on, and it's better to just have your thin layers going, thinner. I don't paint real thin. So how many of you are artists? I'm always curious who's joining. If you haven't, if you are artists and haven't painted a cow before, I highly recommend it. You would be shocked how many people out there love cows and collect them. I was when I first started painting, and although my mother was from Ireland, and excuse me. Hey, Beverly, good morning. Yeah, I would go over and visit my family over there, and I was just mesmerized. I've always loved animals and just thought cows are just so peaceful. They just kind of stand around eating grass and looking so sweet. And I thought I went to a workshop over there, and everybody was painting the landscape. I was paying attention to the cows. I didn't paint one until we all were in the studio one night, and I had one on my camera, and that was the start of it. They all went crazy about the cow, and so I just continued to paint them. I paint other things too, lots of other things, but they make me happy. Okay. Now we have some dark and shadow area down here. This particular cow, doesn't have great light. Sometimes I'll find a reference where the darks will be, a lot darker, and it helps shape the face. But this one spoke to me, so I thought, okay, we'll just give it a go. Oh, I wanted to mention too that I put my last week's demo up on YouTube, and it's at Norma Wilson Fine Art. I just started this, I guess about a month ago, and so I'm learning the different things I can do. Like, I believe I can save this to my story right afterwards, so I'm going to try to do that today. Okay. Let's see, that's too white. That's my soft mixing white. So you can see it looks a lot more chalky than this one here, so kind of get something else on there. Tone it down a little bit. Oh, that's what I didn't do. I didn't put any of my liquid out. I have like a giant bottle of liquid. And the hardest thing about liquid is getting the cap off. I should just prop it on top. Here, I got it today, but I don't know if any of you are familiar with liquid, but the caps drive me crazy. It's like, what do you call it? Childproof caps on medicine. Okay. And get some more of my titanium buff in here. And with my colors, a lot of times I just look around and see where else do I see that particular value or where that would look good. Add a little bit of liquid. I'm avoiding this for some reason. I don't know why. Just get right in there and fix that. Okay. That way we don't have any of that red looking back at us. Oh, I know that once I'm finished this, I'm going to stress about the name. So if anybody has a good name for this cow, I'd love to hear it. Or read it. I believe this one is a cow from Ireland. I had a friend who had a place, well, still a friend, but she used to have a place in Ireland. And when she would go over, she would take photographs of the cows. So I had a lot of my paintings were cows that were her next door neighbor. And that was kind of cool. Oh, hey, Jeannie. Good to see you. Okay. So now I'm going to get a little bit more of the detail in there. Okay. All right. So at this point, I like to go into to get something on the background, and I'm going to use some sap green transparent just to get some color on there. I still have a little white on my brush. I really don't like to use more than one brush. And I probably, now that I say that, I'm going to switch to a slightly bigger one for the background. This is my Silver Bristleton brush. I really like this brand. And I like the one I was using too. That's a Monarch, Winsor Newton Monarch. It is a synthetic brush, and it picks up a good deal of color when I go down to my palette, and it puts it down really well too. With this brush, you will see strokes. There are times on a face that I'm doing that I might want to smooth out brush strokes or anything that I'm working on. But this is a good one when you want to have some brush work showing. Now I have to try to remember to leave some of the red, like I was saying, that the toned canvas will leave a little bits of it. I don't leave a lot, and just enough that here and there you'll see a little of the red showing through. You could leave more depending on what the subject is or what you want to achieve. Oh, and I think I said it, but if you don't want to do acrylic, then just go ahead and use a little, oh, yeah, I did say it. You can use your Cad Red Light and let it dry, or you can do burnt sienna, and that can be done pretty much right before you paint, because burnt sienna it dries pretty quickly. And you can also wipe back the canvas so that you just have, you know, a staining effect. It's not, you know, thick burnt sienna so that it would affect your other colors. I've done that quite a bit too. Okay. Just a little bit more. Okay. So he's starting to come forward, or she. I imagine this to be a female dairy cow. Pretty sure. So, okay. Now I'm going to go back to the eyes and do a little bit more there, which I'll use today some burnt sienna and ultramarine blue together to make my dark. And I've already put a little bit here without even saying anything about it, but I want to darken it some more. And go a little bit darker in here and in here. And let's take some dark into the areas where I see a little bit of dark value. Mix a little bit more. I'd like to get to where I have more than one camera so that I could show my palette a little bit more in case I'm, you know, when I'm mixing more colors. But I haven't figured that out yet to be able to do that. I have this canvas light that I bought that has the ot light as part of it, and when I've tried to take the camera out or move it, it can pop out, and it's not pretty when I try to get it all back together again. So I will figure it out here. Okay, now I'm going to take some of this orange, transparent orange, mixed with a little Naples reddish yellow. Just get a little bit of light into the eye. A lot of this is a back and forth. I'll put more dark in there again. What I should have out, and I don't, is some Venetian red or Indian red. That's a really good color in the eyes. If you notice on this eye, he has a little bit of the whites of his eye showing. Put a little bit of that in. It's a little bit too white. Okay. And I like to put a little bit of this Charvin St. Remy blue in. You don't really see any blue, but when I put it in, it does something for it. And not like a dot. I have to kind of. Cow's eyes, because they're shaped differently, the light will have a different shape too. Not quite like a dot. Okay. I think now I will do a little bit more work on the nose, giving it the snout. Lighten it up just a little bit. Taking some of my Lucas Flesh color and that Gambling color that I can't remember the name of. And there are many layers that build up for this, so I won't be able to probably finish it completely today, but I'll try to get as far as I can. and finish it afterwards. I think we get an hour on this live. Okay. And one thing about cows is they have the most amazing eyelashes. It's just not fair. Oh, can't really see the eyelashes as much on this side, but I'll give her equal eyelashes. Okay. I'm going to use a little bit of that Naples reddish yellow just because I can in here. Sometimes I accentuate the colors, make them a little bit more bold than they really are, but that's the fun of it. And in here, you usually see a little bit of light inside that nostril too. Oh, thank you, Jeannie. I babble. I feel like when I'm doing this, but I love when you guys join in, leave a comment. They have these lovely little top knots that can look really messy, or in this one's case, it's looking barely groomed. Many of them have, what do you call it, horns, you know, or I can't think of what you call that, but this one you can see, but that's probably what's under here, but either it hasn't grown very much or I don't know if they clip them, if there's any cow people that know, but I have painted both, the ones that have it and the ones that don't. Again, I need a little bit of liquid to make that flow a little better. Okay. And this one I think is top lit pretty much. So all of this is going to be lighter. This is slightly in shadow. I'm going to do a little bit of my ice blue, gray color, and maybe some blue in there. We'll see how that looks. Sometimes I put colors down and then I'll think, maybe it needs to be a little different, but I really believe that when we do that, all those little bits of color add into it somehow. You know, when I first put that down, it was, I don't know if it's dark enough, but then we start adding in these lines a little bit. I think it'll be good. And then a little bit more over here. Again, that's what I like to do. When I put a color down, then I say, okay, where else can I put a little bit of that detail in, of that value? This one is kind of up high. on tops of their nose, they have kind of a little pattern that I've noticed. Don't necessarily need to leave it completely that way, but I'll just put a little bit in and then probably get rid of it a little bit or a lot of it. Okay, let's see. More under here. All right, in here, there's some more that orange, I think. So I'm going to add a little bit of Naples reddish yellow in with that orange and see what we come up with. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of an orangey color. Where else would we put that? Nostril comes over a little bit more. Okay. So now I'm going to go back with a little bit more of that warm white down here on the, use a little bit of liquid, on the, I guess you'd say the bridge of his snout. Hello, Anne. Thank you for joining. We're painting, it's called a, if someone knows it, if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, let me know, but it's either Charlet or Charloy cow. I think it's spelled C-H-A-R-L. I don't know if it's O. I think it's A-I-S. And it's a French breed. I think it's from Brittany, France. And they're in Ireland too. And I think we have them in the States too, but that's where they originate from. And they're just massive white cows. And they weigh over 2,000 pounds. I can imagine. And they just dot the landscape over there. I think they're just so beautiful. That's what I painted, that first cow that I did in Ireland. We did a campfire one night. It was just a fire, really, outside of my friend's place. And then we said, let's go paint. And I had just taken pictures of this cow that was watching us from the field next door, watching us crazy artists and drinking wine by the fire. So that's who made it into my painting that night. And I was hooked after that. Okay, over here now. I got a little bit of the green in there, but actually I kind of like that when it happens because it brings the background and the actual painting together a little, unifies it a little. All right. Excuse me. That's where I initially put the Indian yellow when I first started. So I think I want to tone that a little bit. I'm going to get rid of a little bit of this red here. Give her some curls. Okay, kind of connect this a little bit in here. Because like I said, their eyes are really, they come to the edge of their face here. Okay. And I'm going to go back into the eye. Boy, you really have a hard time speaking when you're in this mode. I'm going to kind of reshape the edge of that, the whites of the eyes. I lost a little bit of that blue. It's okay, I can add it in again later. And I think I will find that Indian red or the Venetian red, because that just makes the best part, or the best little light in the eye, better than what I mixed here. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit, like I can see some dark happening here. And where else? Okay, I think next I'm going to work on the background a little bit. Give me a break from the face for a little bit. And I have sap green transparent. Hey, Cheryl. Nice to see you. Yeah, so I'm going to add in some yellows. Try a little bit of Cad Yellow Lemon, or Cad Lemon first. See what that looks like. Okay, that's way too. Okay, so that's okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch now to some green that I'll make from ultramarine blue. It's a warmer green. And first I'll try with lemon. That'll cool it just a little bit. And then I'm going to put some alizarin in and knock it back so it's not quite so jarring. So there, tone that down a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to put out a warmer yellow too that I didn't add to my palette, a Cad Yellow Medium, for when I get down in here where it's a little bit closer. It's a good idea if you're using a brush for the subject that you're painting to go a little bit larger for the background, because it just makes it not be as busy, not feel as busy. Now I will probably add, I'll vary the light and dark a little bit as I go along. Now I'm going to try adding a little bit of that warmer yellow. down here where it's a lighter value against the dark of the bottom of its snout. But I just want to get something down quickly. And there's also some warmth in the grassy area that I think I might try playing up with some burnt sienna. That's just the soil peeking through. Okay. Now, kind of didn't mean to avoid the face. I actually will bump into it and go back and, you know, retouch the face in places so that you don't get a cutout feeling from the background. I say don't ever be afraid of the subject to hit into it, because it'll just add something to it. Okay. All right, I think she's coming along. Let's take a look now and see what I want to do next. Like I say, that, you know, there's some details that you're not really seeing here because of the light on the subject. Okay, I want to warm this up a little bit, or add a little bit more color to it, so this ear is, you know, a little bit more separate from the background. And then this is a little too distinct there. Okay, and then up in here we've lost some of the actual head. That's where the horns would be coming out, pretty sure. So I'm going to take a little smaller brush and go back to the nose. Actually, I'm going to take a real small brush. And what I've found is, if this was a clearer photo, there's kind of like a little pink rim that goes around their eyes. So I'm going to take some of what I used on the nose. Yeah. Might not be the best brush, but add some of that in. And then they easily have, like, just like with dogs, you know, they have an area that comes out here that can get a little messy. It's probably not quite as pink on this side, but we'll just put it for now. Add some of that pink into the eyelashes too. Except for it's taking some of the eye out, the dark. Okay. Now I'm going to add some lighter value up here. For anyone who might be watching who's not an artist, when I talk about a value, it's the relative light to dark, basically, what a value is. So just need to go a little bit lighter there, because that's what the sun is hitting. And then that part should start to come around a little bit. And then need to darken the value a little bit underneath, because this is kind of like a ridge now that's coming out almost, and what's under here is going to be slightly darker, even though in the photograph it's a little flat. It's usually a little darker. For people who have painted in acrylic and tried oil, and have become frustrated, what I recommend with that is just learning to lighten your touch, because what can happen is if you press harder, then you go into what's below, and then it gets muddied. At least that's what people say. And I found that the more I painted, and I wanted to finish a painting in one session, it was like icing a cake. I just learned to really go gently over top of the layer below, and you will start to be able to, it's almost like a dance with oils, be able to dance along the surface better. And you learn what brushes too, like I was saying, this one really puts the color down, but then part of that is, as it puts the color down, it can scratch into the color below. So I have to really be careful with this brand. I have a different one. Beverly asked about what brand of brushes I like best. And one of my favorites is this, doesn't show it on that one. That's an older one. You can see it's Silver Bristleton. Jerry's Artorama in Virginia Beach has this, and of course Jerry's online. The one that I was using quite a bit is a number 8. I would say it's probably about a half an inch. And this other one is, I don't know, I'm guessing the size, maybe an inch or more. And that's what I'm using for this detail. It's a 00, and it's a filbert. These are flats, and I like those for edges. I was going to show you. So if I want to really kind of dance along the surface and not disturb what's below, these Ebony Splendor that Jerry's Artorama carries, and they're pretty inexpensive, is a great one because it's very soft, very soft. So you just get to know over time through trial and error which brushes will do what for you, but also learning to be very light with your touch. Yeah, I've tried a lot of different brushes over time, and this one is a relatively new one, Monarch Flat. It's a Winsor Newton. This is a size 12, made in England, and it's been really good as far as the edge for doing, lines where you want to get a nice edge. What favorites do you have, Beverly, or anybody else that is joining? Because it's always good to hear what people think about their brushes, and if it's something you can get locally or online. I do about half and half. Well, during the pandemic, I really shopped a lot online, and always ordered enough that I got free shipping with Jerry's Artorama. But now I go sometimes to Jerry's. It's kind of dangerous to go because it's so tempting. It's like you just see all those colors and inevitably find one that you must have. Not necessarily need, but must have. Okay, so back to what I was doing here. I I think at this point it's just more layers and more nuance of color. Um, as I put in more detail, which I love that detail. Oh yeah, I was trying to get the detail with, see when I put these things in, sometimes it's like, oh, but you do that? But then I'll go back and put more layer over top of that and it won't show like that. So I find that sometimes when I watch other people paint, I'll be like, oh, same thing. Why did they do that? And then I see after a little while, it's like, okay, we all do different things at different points, and or don't do things that you would do next. Sometimes painting in front of people too, it's you don't get into your right brain quite as easily, and so you won't see things too. I'm putting down some of that ice blue gray because that's in shadow, yeah. Let's see, from your collection, Beverly, you like Winsor Newton is your favorite, but you've been looking for another brand to try. I've heard great things about Rosemary brushes. I have too, and I haven't not ordered any, but I just feel like, I must have some rosemary too because I've heard such great things. But they're also, I believe, from England. So, Winsor Newton brushes are from England too. So they must be doing something right there, making brushes. Okay, now I'm going to mix some of the soft mixing white, which is going to be a little bit lighter, but also adding some of the warm white in. And then I'll be looking for where can I add in this value of white? Where am I seeing it lighter? Get some of that liquid in there. If it, I didn't use liquid for years. I don't know what it was that got me using it again. And now I love it. It just helps the paint to go on a little bit, to kind of flow onto the canvas a little more easily. For this ear hairs, I just find that twisting it a little bit helps. Twisting the brush. Okay, I started to get some of this nose bridge lighter, and then I got distracted again. Okay. Because that is the part that will be lightest in the sun, even if it's top lit. See, I only have about 5 minutes left, so like I mentioned the last time, at the end, I'll just be adding some more details, but also playing with the background color, to make the cow stand out a little bit more. I'll probably go a little bit darker next to where it's lighter, even though this is a different kind of lighting than what I was doing last week. I'll still try to play that up, like maybe go a little bit lighter, this is kind of dark on this side of the face, and I'll probably add in the lights nearby so that gives a little more depth and contrast. And then I'll go where it's lighter, which is like up in here, maybe go a little bit darker in here. And I just found that that really helps to bring depth to the subject. Even if it's not exactly like that in the photograph, it's something you can do to really give it more oomph. Yeah, I used Liquin years back, and I liked it then. And then sometimes I'll just fall away, just kind of like with the transparent colors. I just stopped doing it for some reason. Can't even say when it happened. And then I think it was one of my students was using the Liquin, and I thought, I'm just going to try that again. And I'm glad I did. Just like the transparents, I'm glad I tried that. And the transparent colors underneath, that just adds some a real pretty effect, because there's transparent colors are more pure color, and when that's peeking through too, it just looks great. So I recommend that. Okay, I will put more of the light in the eye again, which I keep losing. Let's just see if I can. Kind of goes in this direction. Okay. I don't know if any of you ever get cramps in your hand when you're painting. Sometimes that happens, and it's just like, whoa, almost like a Charlie horse in your fingers. Okay, I think I just have a couple minutes now, but I promise that I will really try to get this up on my story, and then also we'll work to finish this today and put the finished painting as a post then. And I hope you all will join me again. My plan is to do this every Wednesday, unless I say otherwise, if there's something going on. And if anybody has any ideas of what you'd like to see me paint, please, leave in a comment, or send me a message. I'm always looking for suggestions. So, oh, well, thank you, Beverly. Thanks for joining me. And anyway, thank you, everybody. And I look forward to next week. And have a wonderful week. Bye for now. Thank you.